Yeah, I saw Henry. He was walking down the block with some girl I ain't know. That wasn't my girl. Where was she walking at? You know, baby, you gonna be right here. But when we cover down, you got your woman to your left. And the curb is to the right. I got this. I don't give a damn if it's an uncle. If I don't know you, what? Wait, hold on, yo. No, that's my Uncle Joey. He just came up from down south. Yo, he about to get it. I ain't never seen him before. I done been to a few family reunions and Thanksgiving. I ain't never seen Joe. He coming over here kissing you on the cheek. No, he wanna know you got a man. I don't care if I'm littler than Joey. Yo, what? And we may look crazy as hell, but we trying to make sure our woman is protected. Is that right? It starts with our mother.
Yes, that's right.
See, the respect that we'll have for our mother will show the kind of respect we're going to show for our woman, who is not our mother.
That's true. That's true.
We ain't getting married to have another mother. Is that right? We only got one mother. And we don't need nobody acting like a mother over us. Is that right? And some of us have little, I guess, triggers. My trigger is, don't try to feed me no damn food. I can feed myself. No. It's just something comes out of me. No. What the hell you feeding me, man? What? I'm sorry. Y'all all right? You ain't doing that to me. You're not, no. I got one mama, and man, I'll be pleased with her. You ain't putting no fork in my mouth. No, we not doing that. Now, some of y'all may like that. I'm just saying, brother Henry, no. I can feed myself. We good to go. But the protection of the woman, she got to be covered. She got to be shielded. That's right. Is that right? That's right. So, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as we had said last week, there was a time where, as original people, now I'm talking about, when I say original people, I'm talking about our history beyond 16,000 years ago. Wow. Well, let me just go here. Beyond 9,000 years ago. All right? When there was no white people among us. I know they got you thinking they've been around for 50,000 years and all. They know, hell no. They only been around for 6,000 years.
That's right.
Look at this. Because you may argue with it. I'm not here to make you believe the teaching. That's not my purpose here. I'm here to deliver a clear message.
That's right. Yes, sir.
When you read in the Bible, and so I'm a student of ministry.
Yes, sir.
So in the class that I study from is the class of God. I don't study prophets.
Oh, right.
I'm taught by God to study gods. All right? So there's a different level that I'm coming from. It's not academic. It's revelation. You're not going to be able to defeat this, what I'm saying, with some academic knowledge. I don't give a damn you study Sheikh Akadiyat. I don't care you going to Dr. Ben. You are not going to defeat what I got from God through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan with some academic knowledge. Please, all you will do is bear witness to what I got with your academic knowledge. And I ain't being arrogant. I'll die on that. Word is bond to Allah. You can't defeat this. So you can go into your encyclopedias, you can read Sex and Race, you can read J.A. Rogers, go through all of them. I met a man that met God. You can't top that. Okay, all right, you know what? I'm over here getting beside myself. Let me calm down. I'm sorry, because it just happens from time to time. It's like, I don't know, it just pops out, but before white people were made, and let me just make this point, because that's where I was going. When you read in the book of Genesis about Adam and Eve, and you're reading that under the perception that this is the first family, they have 2 children. Is that right? One of their children leaves from the family and goes into the land of Nod and finds a wife. Where'd she come from? See, this is to let you know there was people here before Adam and Eve. That Adam and Eve is not the first family of the original family. That's the first family of the made family. The made man. This is why last week we talked about man and mankind. That Adam and Eve is of mankind. And when you really look through history, there's been over 50,000 Adams. So we're talking about this time period of 4000 BC.
Come on now.
In which they say is that time period in which Genesis was given.
That's what they say.
Before that,
Right.
our ancestors
Come on.
used to predict history, write it down, and then walk into it. And the history would go for 25,000 years. Because it was dealing with the mathematics of the circumference of the earth, which was 24,896 miles. It's still the same today, rounded off to its nearest 1,000. Y'all remember in elementary school? That's 25,000. So we would make our history last 1 year for each mile of the circumference of the earth. And the God of that cycle of history, who's predicting in advance, along with 23 others, then they go and they decide on what they're going to allow to happen and what they're not going to let happen. And we saw 16,000 years ago that by the year 8400, one would be born from among us. That would be so wise, he would discover unlike attract and like repel, meaning that in a sense, and I'm really got to speed this up because the time is on us, God created us in his mind, after his mind, which is all righteousness. He didn't create us knowing evil. Even though evil exists, he didn't create us knowing evil, so as long as we didn't know evil, we would always work in righteousness. But he knew that one would be born eventually that would discover the other side. And out of his desire to see the other side, which is really he was studying self. It's all dealing with knowledge of self. He would experiment with that gene that's within the original people that is of a lesser quality than the dominant gene. We call it a brown germ. But in the word germ is the idea. The germ of the idea that I can be other than what God is telling me to be. The germ of the idea that if I'm dissatisfied with some of the things that God wants me to do, how do I satisfy my dissatisfaction? One would be born that was speaking to the dissatisfaction of the people. And by him doing that, he would get them to follow his way according to their dissatisfaction. He had an answer for it. And his answer for it was to get them to step down from the wisdom of God in their mental state. So once they step down from the wisdom of God, they strip themselves of the clothing of knowledge that God gave them. There you have Adam and Eve naked in the garden. Doesn't mean that they was walking around naked. White people are nasty, you know what I'm saying? Because because they wanted to make you think. And now they got shows on TV just straight up naked. Look, brothers and sisters, you know, I mean, cause I know I'm taking a little bit more time than I planned on in this sense. If we don't explain things, how you gonna know? There are 9 planets in the universe. All of them are of different colors. So how's somebody gonna tell you color don't matter? When the Creator gave a different color for each planet. But if you don't know that, you think that's right, color don't matter. Color don't matter. It ain't about black, it ain't about white. Shut up. You're just ignorant.
That's right, brother.
Here's the planet Earth. It has grass, it has trees, it has flowers. Is that right? Yes. It has its own clothing. Who told you you're supposed to be naked? Study nature. Even when it comes to animals. They got tails to hide their private parts. Why the hell some of us walking around with straight up tights? Now, sister, I don't see you when you. I'm just saying. Black woman walking around in pantyhose. Black pantyhose with a t-shirt on and just walking through the community. Like the sunlight ain't gonna reveal what color panties you got on and what's up under them tights. But this is fashion now. Pantyhose with some Nikes on. And a nice shirt. Now there was a time when you wouldn't even be caught in the house like that with company coming on and you stepping out. What's making you not have any shame? See, someone done stripped us of the clothing of our Father. That you don't feel ashamed, and then some of you will fight down the shame. You know you ain't comfortable like that, but you want to fight it down because it's the style.
Wow. Listen, come on.
So there was a time when we saw that one that was going to be born that would strip us of these kind of things. And God could have stopped it, but he said, let it be. Part of that let it be is summed up in what Jesus says you got to see out in order to see in. See? The ugliness of ourselves had to come out for a period of time till we get so sick and tired of it that we would not allow ourselves to live like that anymore.
That's right.
They say Islam comes after all else fails. And Islam dignifies, Islam meaning submission to God. It's not until we're in our lowest moment and we have tried to, we've come up with all different kind of ways to come up out of the trouble that we're in and failed. And when we're at our lowest moments, when we're ready to make a sincere prayer to God. That's submission. And we talk to God from our heart and ask him to get us out of this situation, and then we try to make a deal. God, if you help me out of this, I swear I will never, ever do that again. And the Quran says, and when Allah gets you out of it, we attribute it to somebody else. Man, I'm glad that brother came that day and did what he did. If it wasn't for this sister, I would have never. You don't even see God working through the sister, God working through the brother. Just give it to somebody else, and then if we're not careful, you turn around and a year or two later do the same thing all over again. Tell me Allah is not most merciful. Because look, that's what we need, mercy. Is that right? Well, what I was getting at with that is that, because I touched on it last week, we saw this evil one coming from among us. We allowed him to exist. We knew what he would do. And so in order for us to allow him to do what he was going to do, then we had to put our work to sleep and bury our wisdom. And so we buried our wisdom under the sands. We buried our wisdom under the sea. You see, we, as brother just said, under the ice as well. Now these artifacts are coming up over the last 100 years. Do you think the white man is just discovering it, or is it Allah permitting him now to see it? Why didn't he go to the moon in the 1940s? Why didn't he go to the moon in the 1930s? Why did it happen in the 60s? The 70s? Because his time of rulership is up. The devil's time stopped in 1914. But God says in the scripture, speaking through Paul, how can they know except they have a teacher? And how can they have a teacher except he's been sent? So a teacher would have to come, but that teacher would be God coming to raise one up from the oppressed with his knowledge and wisdom. And so in the midst of it, here's the white man going to the moon. Here's the white man discovering television. Here's the white man coming up with microwave ovens. Where's all this knowledge coming from all of a sudden? It almost looks like he's going to always be in rulership. Allah says in the Quran, when he's ready to get rid of a people, he allows them to get a peep into the heavens. See of this glorious wisdom that makes your knowledge look like a speck of dust. Have you ever taken in consideration the size of the sun in comparison to the earth? The earth is 7,926 miles in diameter. All right? Times that by 3 is about 24,000, miles, right? The sun is 853,000 miles in diameter. You know what this earth looks like to the sun? Like a dot on a piece of paper. See, I want you to just take a look from God's perspective of universe. This is just a small little dot in comparison to all the other planets. Think about Pluto. Pluto is 4,600,000,000 miles from the sun. But Pluto is 67,000 miles in diameter. Pluto makes this earth look like a dot. But at the same time, Pluto, based off of the light of the sun, moves at the same rate of speed as this earth, 1,037 and a third miles per hour. What's the point, Brother Henry? The point is that the originator of you and I has shared himself with us, and all these things that I'm talking about where planets are concerned are here to serve us, not we serve it. Right. But the white man, he is a Johnny-come-lately. And in order for him to survive past his expiration date, he has to be willing to submit to God's will. So when we saw that this was happening, that this one was coming, we hid our knowledge, but we left artifacts out there so that they would know that there's a knowledge bigger than theirs. One of the artifacts is the Sphinx. Come on now. You see? Come on. And the Sphinx is representing Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And it's also representing the father of everything. And when you look at it, it's the body of a lion with the face of a black man. The nose of a black man, the lips of a black man. So it's out there in the desert, but it's also in Mexico. So that way the white man couldn't say, this was just a wonder over here and it was a fluke. No, we put it in the other places so that you'll know. We've been all over, baby. This is ours. You just got here. The pyramids is another one. You see, they got pyramids in Egypt, but they also found pyramids on Mars. See, now you're dealing with the creator. You got the Sphinx looking like the black man, that's coming from the creator, and then you got the pyramids here and on Mars, and these black people belong to a God that is the creator of it all. So if I, as a white man, realize that, I'm going to make sure you stay under the dust. That's right, brother. Because your potential means that I will no longer be in rulership. So I'm going to lie to you. I'm going to steal from you. They've stolen our identity. That's right. So now in the midst of that, we also had to hide our women. That's right. Make it plain. And by hiding our women, we had to make sure we keep them in the house while the man stayed out in the field and dealt with this newcomer that was coming. That's true. Yes, so to sum this up, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in coming up with the blueprint to resurrect us from our state and condition, he knew he had to call the black woman into the mosque. And